Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, you know, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great.
Yes, not cannabis. Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer-mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
All right, everybody, welcome to the weekend. We're here with Brian the Red, who's loading up something lemony.
Actually, this is the other jar.
It's the what?
This is the other jar. This is some Grand Poodle.
Oh.
Granddaddy Purple crossed with Blueberry.
Granddaddy Purple crossed with Blueberry. Interesting.
Yes.
Well, we are here at Toker Talk Radio, and I'm pretty excited about our upgrades and some of the things that we're adding on. We've added to Spreaker.com as a new outlet for one of our streams now. And I want to get the address for you here so I can post it up in the chat room for everyone. Spreaker.com/user/live420radio. Right there, so you can use that. And if you will like us there, please like us. We must be liked. We must be followed. That's the important part, is we have to be followed. And I'm going to refresh here and see if we got enough followers here. We're up to 31 followers, so thank you so much. We got to get that over 100 before I can submit it to iHeartRadio. Now, iHeartRadio, if you do not know, is the best-selling, the best, most downloaded app for iPhones and smartphones for live radio out there. It's, every major radio station's on it.
Except us yet.
Except us. So we need to be on there.
Yes.
So help us out, and we will get this out to you, and you'll appreciate it because there'll be more people stopping in and listening and joining us and having a good time. Also gets me to thinking about our Ustream. Man, I get tired of Ustream. The only problems I ever have with streaming is Ustream. The audio stream that goes out to TuneIn and the audio stream that goes now out to Spreaker are both running simultaneously without a hitch.
Mm-hmm.
But Ustream coughs and chokes and pukes. It's a real pain.
Well, I think that it's because they're dependent. They've got the people logging on to do live stuff at random times. There's fluctuations in the bandwidth that they have capable, of putting stuff out. So
yeah.
Well,
Bonghitter's asking if they have a direct stream URI. We do. If you go to 420radio.org, and in the top right corner, we've got a blue bar that says click here for connections to 420 Radio Online Mobile. And when that pops down, on the left-hand side, I got 5 different pop-up windows that you can bring up with audio or video, with chat or without, or just the chat in its own little mini window. So lots of options up there now. I just playing around with those all this morning. So see if any of those will work for you, Bonghitter. That way you don't have to... you don't want to leave the page open. Oh, direct stream. I had a direct stream link in there. I can put that back. Here's one. If you go to the rad-r.us/420 audio, that should get you the PLS file, which is the direct file to our 96K stream. So you can try that. Anyway, coming up on the rest of Toker Talk Radio today, we're going to be speaking with Lindsey Rinehart. She was Idaho's medical marijuana petitioner and was trying to get the Medical Marijuana Act passed up there when the cops got into her home and took away her kids and scared the hell out of her and forced her to move, basically, because she's a multiple sclerosis patient. And in order to be safe and to be able to take care of her family, she has moved. And she's now in Southern Oregon in Medford. So we're going to give her a call, talk to her, and get her opinions on CPS week here as we wrap things up. Also, I've got to talk in second half hour because I've pissed off the patients not criminals. I've done it again. The patients not criminals are very upset at me in Washington State because I dared to suggest that maybe they ought to think about compromising a little or else they're going to lose everything. So when we get to the second half hour, we're going to talk about that and see what your opinions are on this. Basically, the situation is the Washington State Liquor Control Board has recommended pretty much, ending medical marijuana. They've recommended killing home grow, recommended reducing possession limits to 3 ounces from 24, recommended that there be no dispensaries, that they all just be I-502 stores and everybody pays taxes at them, and a bunch of other stuff that
sounds really stupid to me and a lot of the other medical community.
It does, and it's got a lot of the patients not criminals with their hair on fire. And I kind of jumped into the fray on Facebook and said, well, look, you can't have this completely unregulated, untaxed system running along with people getting 1.5 pounds of weed and expect that to stay the way it is when you're going to set up legal marijuana next to it. So then, of course, they're about, well, then we never should have passed 502, which is basically telling me I needed to remain a criminal. So I got a little angry. And we'll talk about that in the second half hour because it's been some fun on Facebook, let me tell you.
Indeed.
I love getting called names in all caps. It's a lot of fun. And
Trolls.
Pushing people under the bus. Where is this damn bus? I get so tired of that idiom because most people don't even really understand what it means.
Yeah.
Pushing someone under the bus means that you are sacrificing someone in order to benefit yourself.
Yeah.
I live in Oregon. None of this benefits me. Anyway, we'll talk about it more when we come back. Lindsey Rinehart coming up next.
It's simply business. It's simply business. It's simply business. You know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
It's simply business. It's simply business. It's simply business. You know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business. It's simply business. You know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business.
When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you don't just want any attorney. You want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The law office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Lauren Vasquez knows the details of California marijuana law from both a personal and professional angle. Lauren Vasquez rose from the ranks of college normal activist to become one of the Bay Area's best marijuana lawyers. Visit her website, fireduplawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer, or email fireduplawyer@gmail.com. The number again is 855-MMJ-LAWS, 855-665-5297 for your fired-up lawyer, Lauren Vasquez. Lauren Vasquez is an activist attorney you can trust. Call today. Hey, Tokers and Tokettes, Radical Russ here to introduce you to my friend Matt and all the staff at Lush LED Lighting. Growing plants indoors can be a rewarding hobby, but electricity bills can go through the roof. Then you have to cool down all those big hot lights. It can drive a grower insane. With Lush LED Lighting, you can solve many of these issues and double your rewards. If you thought LEDs were meet the tech of today, Matt and his scientists have developed the perfect light for flowering plants with far less cost and heat. And the results? Let's just say I appear at a lot of events with the masters of indoor horticulture, and the harvests I saw from Lush LED lighting were big, tight, sticky, and very effective. Check out lushledlighting.com right now and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Double your rewards and lower your expenses with Lush LED lighting.
Folks be tripping on me, I just be doing my thing. Be liking the way.
All right, welcome back, everybody. That's music from Devin the Dude. It's a nice Friday afternoon here at Rolla J Studios. I hope you've had a good week. I've had a good week. Got a bunch of stuff published. And I got invited to appear at the Southern Oregon Medical Marijuana Business Expo. And I'm going to be presenting on 420 Radio, and I'll be streaming live on 420 Radio. They're going to set me up with all the internet and everything. They're going to cover hotel. They're going to get me down there, feed me, all that good stuff. And the bonus, it's on my birthday. That's right. January 29th through 31st, 2014, I will be in Medford, Oregon for the Southern Oregon Medical Marijuana Business Conference. I'm not sure if that's the exact name, but that's where I'll be. And another person who is there is my good friend Lindsey Rinehart, who's on the phone. Lindsey, how are you doing? Lindsey.
Well, and I'm really excited because what you just said.
Yeah, I'm excited to be there too. So how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's been a while since we spoke to you. You've moved your way down to Medford, Oregon. How do you like being in a medical marijuana state?
It's like I time traveled 10 years into the future. I love it.
I'll bet you do. Now, we started this CPS week on Tuesday to, basically protest what's going on with medical marijuana patients losing their rights over their children for their use of medicine that the state has approved. And, of course, this hit you when you were living in Idaho, and I know you did a protest on Tuesday. Can you tell us about that?
I did a protest on Tuesday to stand in solidarity with the protests that going on around the country and around the world. And we came together, just a small group of us. It was effective. It was very effective. And protested outside of the Jackson County Courthouse, letting CPS know that we're calling, or here it's called DHS, letting them know that we're calling for a reform of their organization on a nationwide scale. And we wound up with about a dozen people, which was better than some things, and we wish we would have had more. But we had great media coverage, and they had interviewed me the day before, and they wound up getting a hold of DHS and getting a statement. And that statement was that in Oregon, marijuana isn't a removable offense for the children as long as it's not causing some sort of harm in the household. Now, I know that's not necessarily true because there's a case where that's happened. But it was at least refreshing to hear a formal statement that was way different than what I'm used to.
Yeah, in fact, I'd heard or I'd read on one of our email lists some of the attorneys responding and saying that it's not been as much of a problem in Oregon. But can you tell us about these cases that you've heard of?
Yes, there's a Portland woman named Melanie Shreenan, and she has a wasting condition where she has to have medical marijuana to eat. If she doesn't have it, it won't stay down. So she was pregnant, and she was pregnant with twins, and she didn't know until she was about 5 months pregnant. She went to her doctor, and he told her not to smoke it, but she said that she'd already switched to a tincture, and he said, okay, just to make sure not to do anything that would make her more sick. So she continued on throughout her pregnancy and was successful in treating her illness and giving birth to her babies, but they were twins, so they were born early, and they had some issues coming out of the hospital because of that, and they were tested, and they tested positive for THC. The entire time throughout the pregnancy, the doctors were kind of treating her like a research case, how's it working for you? What does it do? Which symptoms does it relieve? How does it work? And then when she has the babies that test positive for THC, DHS came in and took the baby and her other children as well, as she had to fight to get them back. And she got them back in December of last year.
Wow. So for how long was she without her children?
I think it was roughly about 3 months. I would need to have the internet in front of me. I apologize. But she didn't have any of them. They took them all, including one that had been placed with them. Another little girl, a 5-year-old, that I think was her significant other child. This child had been placed with them. And another county wound up getting involved, the one that had placed them, and took that little girl away as well. And that little girl wound up getting placed back at home before the other 3 children, back with Melanie and her husband. And then the other 3 were returned in December, with the judge saying that they should have never been removed at all.
Wow, what a shame. And so these 3 children removed, even though it's just one child who was the newborn that tested positive?
The twins had both tested positive.
Right, okay, gotcha. It was twins. Thank you. All right. So, this is just...
But not the other 2, no.
Now, did the doctors involved in this who were, helping her out and monitoring her with the tincture, did they, step forward to CPS to tell them, hey, we're kind of monitoring this?
From what I've read and what I've seen and talked to her about, it's almost like the doctors were clueless that this was going on beyond the babies getting removed from the actual hospital. They were waiting to take their babies home because one of their older children was sick. And she didn't want to bring one of the babies home with another sibling that was sick, and just requested that child wait a day at the hospital with the other twin. They were going to release one twin but not the other. And the older child was sick, and she said, no, please keep them there just this one night. I'd really like to make sure everything was in order. And they said that would be okay. And they turned around, and then they found out that it was not okay. And so DHS came to her home with an officer and interrogated them for quite a while, pretty harshly. You can read about this on momsformarijuana.org. And they came in, and they interrogated them. They left. Then the DHS worker came back about 20 minutes later with 2 more cops, asked the entire family to step outside, and when they did, they removed the children. Then when she called to find out about her twins, she found out they had been taken from DHS.
Wow. All right. So, momsformarijuana.org, folks, if you want to read up on these stories, there's more out there. And we are speaking with Lindsey Rinehart, who is now in Southern Oregon and getting involved in activism down there. I hope you're making a whole lot of new friends down there, and it's a pretty welcoming environment for you.
I really like it down here. I've already met a great group of activists. Lori Duckworth is down here, and she's amazing. And there's just been this great, warm reception, and I love it down here. I really love it.
Yeah, that's so good to hear. And we're also wanting to know how your kids are doing. We of course brought the story to everyone early in the spring about how your kids got taken away over a CPS matter. Have they gotten over that? Are they feeling better about this? Are they feeling safer now that they're in Oregon?
I don't think they're ever going to get over it. They're going to grow and develop and grow past it, and they are. But, I mean, my younger son, Elijah, my 5-year-old, he still pops up out of nowhere. I never wanted to look on again. That was the foster mom. And she was actually a really nice lady, but to a 5-year-old that's been going out of his home and placed with a stranger, he popped up with that last week, at random, so I don't think that they're over it by any means, but they're definitely getting through it. We've done a lot of growing and developing. My older son was being here when we moved, the year that we moved, it's 6th grade, and here that's middle school. So we moved here, and he got to jump up into a different kind of thing that he was used to, and he opted not to be homeschooled, but he's kind of been through the worst of what you could probably go through at school as far as dealing with CPS, and he's unfortunately and fortunately very, capable of dealing with anything, if anything ever happened like that again. Just to know not to say anything and to call mom. My younger son is homeschooled, and he loves it, and it's really nice. It's fun to have all of that time one-on-one with him, and I don't feel vulnerable having him at the school. And it's been a really neat experience to get to watch him grow and develop, and he's starting to read, and I know that I taught him that. It's pretty fun.
That's wonderful.
Very well.
That is so wonderful. But another thing that's wonderful is it's 20 after the hour, and since we're here in the state of Oregon, that means it's 4:20. So I get to celebrate 4:20 with Lindsey Rinehart at the bottom of the state. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk some more about CPS and the Undergreen Railroad. So stay tuned.
Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
I'm Radical Russ Belville, and I want to thank you for listening to 420 Radio. We couldn't survive without you and our sponsors, and I'd like you to check out one of our prime sponsors, the National Cannabis Coalition. I've been working with NCC since June of 2012, and I'm proud to be part of the team they have assembled. National Cannabis Coalition is building the partnerships with reformers, lawmakers, and industry we need to be successful. Visit the National Cannabis Coalition website at nationalcannabiscoalition.com or the easier-to-remember ncc420.com. That's where you'll get the exclusive first look at my radical rants, as well as informative articles from the nation's top cannabis pundits. Visit ncc420.com today, and if you have your phone handy, text Russ to 420-420 to support NCC and 420 Radio. It's a free text message that helps us help you end adult marijuana prohibition. Learn more at ncc420.com, and thanks for supporting independent marijuana legalization public radio.
Let him bring in the beat.
Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel produces quality custom designs for t-shirts, hats, and other apparel. Handmade Apparel is the official design shop for 420 Radio, The Russ Belville Show, Ganja John, and Cascadia Concentrates, among many clients who rely on Adam Hand for everything from short-run custom projects to full-run clothing lines. Adam's meticulous designs are individually crafted and screened in vibrant high-definition color. Visit handmadeapparel.biz to browse the selection of handmade gear or to get a personal quote for your own designs. Handmade Apparel, a proud supporter of 420radio.org.
Let him bring in the beat.
420radio.org presents Hemp Radio with Patty Cakes in Orange County, debuting every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time, with replays Thursday at 7 a.m., Fridays at midnight, and Sundays at 9 p.m. right here on 420radio.org.
Gonna talk about life, liberty, and a real good time. You take care of your backyard, buddy, I'll take care of mine.
Oh, if only it were that simple. That's Chief Greenbud with Life, Liberty, and a Real Good Time. That's what America's all about. We got a fine American on the line. Lindsey Rinehart is with us from Southern Oregon. How you doing, Lindsey? Lindsey. Oh, we've lost Lindsey. We'll have to call her back and get her on the line. She thought she was done. No, Lindsey. No, you are not done. We have plenty more to say. We got to talk about the Undergreen Railroad.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good thing. I meet more and more people every day who, you know, are like, man, I had to get out of, you know, such and such state. And I'm like, man.
About dang time.
You know, congratulations, you made it, but, you know.
All right, we got Lindsey back on the line. Are you there, Lindsey?
I am. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
That's okay. It's cell phones. They can sometimes disconnect. But wanted to go on talking about your case because, of course, we told everyone about how your kids got taken away when you were in the state of Idaho, and now you've escaped the state of Idaho. But is that it with them, or are they still after you?
We are still fighting Idaho. They want to put us on a list saying that we neglect children because of the paraphernalia that was in my bedroom for, you know, my medical use.
This would be an Idaho state
Idaho
list
code
of
that
child neglectors. Is that it?
the Idaho code, it's an IDAPA code. It goes for the CPS rules because they have their own special rules. I know you guys have talked about this a lot. Their special rules say paraphernalia automatically dictates neglect.
Okay.
If it was in the home where a child could reach it. Well, it was in my bedroom. And so, not that kids really play in there, but I guess if they, weren't, I don't know, not to stay out of it or something. Everything that I had that was, major was locked up. But it seems like they have found just whatever they can, and they make it seem like if you have paraphernalia in your home, you are automatically neglecting your children. And so we're here to tell them that, no, you're not automatically neglecting your children. That is a device to administer a medication. That is not something that automatically takes neglect. And so we're fighting Idaho to say, no, you can't put us on this registry. This will affect our lives in some pretty bad ways. It shows up on a federal background check. So it'll make it hard for my husband to get a job. It will show up on a federal background check. So if the school background checks us, which they do, and they're going to, if we want to volunteer at the school, we can't because we're going to be a level 2 offender. My husband has never missed a field trip since my kid was 5, my older son, and except for one field trip. And all the other ones, he made it. And then we were going to chaperone for the Halloween dance, and it came back that we needed to have a federal background check.
Wow.
And it was like my heart hit my stomach because I can't chaperone at a dance.
So
because I can't have paraphernalia. It's just not right.
It's insane. And Lindsey, let's be clear. Did you ever get a criminal charge for paraphernalia or possession?
No, I did not. And so that's one thing that we're going to be bringing up. Another thing is that a medical necessity has been used before in Idaho criminally and successfully. And so that was back in 1990. But it's never been used to help with, this situation. Nobody's ever challenged CPS on this that I can find in Idaho. And so we're hoping that this will give people that come after me some legal grounds to stand on. Hopefully their children wouldn't be removed for it at all, but if they are removed, that it would show up as, well, this has already been beat before, so then they would have something to kind of stand on to help meet it for them.
Well, this just, this illustrates that low bar that CPS has to clear, that in a criminal court, they'd have to take you to court. They'd have to take you to trial. They'd have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you were in possession of drug paraphernalia and or marijuana in the house before they could take your liberty and fine you and whatever else it might be, before they could put a black mark on your record that would follow you around for your life. But these CPS people, it seems, can do it just because a cop said he saw something. Is that right?
Morally, no, but...
is that what's happening here?
So they have their own... Yeah, they have their own set of rules. So there's no due process in any of this. What they say goes. There's no judge. So you get hearing officers, which is kind of like a judge. I think I'm getting a judge December 4th. We have court in Idaho. And we thought we were going to Idaho. Now it might be over the phone. I'm not sure. We're kind of in limbo on that. I really wanted to know by now, but I just don't. But if we get to go in public, if we get to go on December 4th, that'll be a public hearing. And then we can ask for court support. We can have, be there. If it's over the phone, then I don't know exactly how that'll work. But it's still the first time that we're ever going to be heard. It's the first time that a judge is going to be able to hear our side of this. And, it's really frustrating when you've got stuff in your room that was put away, but when the pictures come back in discovery and they're all over your dresser and on your floor, and you're just like, how on earth am I using, supposedly, a broken bong that's been broken for over a year? Why was that placed in the middle of my bedroom floor and a picture taken over it? And it's really frustrating when I get told, well, your integrity might be called into question because you're a protective mom of your child and you're trying to protect yourself for your case. And I'm wondering why isn't Boise Police Department's credibility called into place when they were in my house without a warrant for 2.5 hours? I'd really like to know. And so I think it'll be interesting for a judge to get to ask these questions and get to, or not to ask them, but to actually, hear the answers to these questions where we haven't had it in.
Let me just put this into a paragraph so that I can wrap my head around the outrage that I should feel. We are talking about a woman who's got multiple sclerosis, who's using cannabis, keeping it locked up in her bedroom away from the kids and using perhaps a glass pipe to smoke it and to alleviate symptoms of a terrible, terrible disease. And then upon a hearsay at an elementary school, cops show up and intimidate their way without a warrant past a babysitter. It's rooting around until they can finally find some contraband, and upon finding it, take away not just your kids, but the kids of your friend, removing them from the house for at least a couple of weeks. And then, even after you've left the state and no criminal charges have been filed and your kids are given back to you, bureaucrats at Idaho CPS are saying, well, that tubular piece of glass means that your husband's an abusive parent who needs to be on a registry that will affect background checks and his ability to interface with children for the rest of his life. Have I got that?
Not only do you have it, let me kick that up a notch for you. So I've been wanting answers from the principal of the school for a very long time. And we finally got some answers in the last week. And one of the answers to the questions, oh my gosh, they're still insisting that my kid brought cannabis to school. They say it was identified by 4 10-year-olds. No. I'm just going to go ahead and be very blunt about this. Trim with a leaf that is dry cannot sustain a 10-year-old having it in their pocket, let alone an adult. It would crumble into dust. There is no way that a leaf made it to school in a 10-year-old's pocket that was never even there to begin with, that my kid could not access because it was completely locked up. So these 10-year-olds supposedly can identify cannabis that doesn't exist. So then they admit later, and the next day after I write my lawyer back a series of questions, that my child had a felt leaf of some sort in his pocket. So if they identified a felt leaf of some sort in my child's pocket, wouldn't it be up to an adult to decide if that was in fact cannabis or not, even given that there were several officers at the school that day? Nobody thought to take the felt leaf and go test it or something? And somehow all these 10-year-old kids can identify cannabis. And I just don't understand it. I do not understand it. And it will affect my husband even, it's a complete mess. And we want to fight this, and we're going to.
Absolutely. Yeah, this needs to be fought. So keep in touch, because we'll write this up, and I'll get this posted up in High Times. We'll get some eyeballs on this, put it in Huffington Post, wherever we can, to get people to understand this. And that's why I wanted to do this week of shows, because I'd followed this through Daisy Bram, and I've followed this through your case. And, I'm thinking how bad CPS is because, they're taking away kids for the fact that people are smoking pot. But the more I dig into this, I find that they're, not only just targeting that, but there's a whole profit incentive in doing so. And the system is tilted to break up families, and it just needs to stop.
It's really awful. And one thing that was heart-wrenching, and we had a lady show up to a rally on Tuesday, and she doesn't use cannabis. She claims that her children were stolen for no reason, and went on for about an hour to a reporter about it, and the reporter listened to every word and hugged her at the end, because even though you hear, my children were stolen for no reason, and most people have said, yeah, right, there's always a reason. They don't take kids for no reason. I'm here to tell you, yes, they do. Yes, they do take kids for no reason, and it's up to us to protect our children.
Yes, absolutely. Lindsey Rinehart. And, I want to talk a little bit, too, about the brainchild we've had that's now starting to toddle a little bit, the Undergreen Railroad. Can you give us any updates on that?
It is turning into a little toddler. We have a website now. So if you go to undergreenrailroad.org and you're looking at any medical state or recreational state that you want to relocate to, you can go to our website and you can find out what the laws are for every medical and recreational state that there is. And you can find links for the census information so that you can search by county to look for like health and welfare, and the health and welfare links are all up. So people, when they're moving, usually have to get services established, stuff like that. We have job services, like temporary services available to search, U-Hauls available to search. It's all up. So right now it's kind of like a little self-help station. Ultimately, that's not what it's going to be. Ultimately, we will be helping families relocate and get out of states where they do not have medical laws or recreational laws to states that do have medical laws or recreational laws. But right now, we had to do something.
Right.
The demand was so high. As soon as people found out about Undergreen Railroad, we were bombarded. So we had to do something. So right now, it's a self-help station. So we are working on it. So we are still looking for people. If somebody wants to help us by sponsoring us to get our incorporation or 501c3, we really need help to move forward. That will allow us to take donations to these families move right now. And once we can do that, we're just going to start doing it. These families need to move now. We've got people dying from cancer. I was in month 4 of an attack before I moved here. I could barely move. And now I got here 2 weeks later. I was weak. I was coming out of my attack. I'm off of all of my medications. People shouldn't have to wait years to get off of all of their medications. I'm sorry, but we're fighting to change these laws in these states. There's no reason for these people to have to stay there and have their health decline. It's not okay. And people that are recreational users and CPS is in their business, so they've been in probation over and over. If they're clear to leave the state, let's get them out. Let's get them in a state where they don't have to go through this over and over. There are states with principal laws, and there is 10 to go.
Absolutely.
I'll move home if we so choose. Let's go.
I agree. And the goal for this, of course, is to be a real state-of-the-art, let's have a referral system. People can post if they have a room available. Patients can say, looking for room, a big bulletin board referral service. But that takes some IT talent, some web talent. And I'm always hearing people say, what can I do? I don't have a lot of money, but I want to help. Well, if you got these kind of web skills, kind of database skills, get a hold of me. I'll put you in touch with Lindsey. There's a lot we can do crowdsourcing to make this a self-funding, and an operational Undergreen Railroad site to help more of our friends who, and I'm not saying, it's not for everybody. Some people want to stay in their states, but if you want to move to a state that's friendlier, then we have the site for you, undergreenrailroad.org. All right. Well, Lindsey Rinehart, I'm glad you're doing well, and it sounds like getting to a medical state, getting a good supply of good medicine has definitely helped your condition, hasn't it?
It really has. I got to experience my first harvest press. It was so amazing. It was beautiful. I got to trim for the first time, and it was great. I have medication, and I feel better than I felt in years. I mean, the only pharmaceutical I'm taking is Benadryl. I got to play with the plant that I fought so hard for and went through hell for, and it was really just like needed. It was absolutely needed, and it was rewarding, and I loved every second of it. And to just be able to come somewhere where the opinion is so different. Being in Idaho, it humanizes the plant so much, and then when you come to a different place and you move and you immerse in the culture, and the culture down here for cannabis is amazing. This is the top of the Emerald Triangle. I moved to a great place, and it's so nice to not have the social stigma that just kind of feels like this itch of Idaho, where you're just stigmatized and looked down upon because you choose something different. You know, you have a different medication, and you come here, and the level of activism is even different. You know, I'm not fighting for medical here. Here I'm looking at which initiatives to help with, you know, moving forward for full legalization. And it's for all of them, for that matter. And it's just, you know, it's just a whole different level of looking at things, going from a non-medical state to a medical state. I highly recommend it if you are stuck somewhere where you need to leave for your condition. I am tired of hearing about the cancer patients that are dying because they don't have medical access. And I say that with love. I do not mean that in a mean way. I will always listen to somebody that needs to tell me that story. Always, always, always. But it shouldn't have to be told over and over. These people should have access right now. And if we can help accomplish that for somebody, that's something that we need to do.
We will. And this just sounds like when I get down there at the end of January, I'll actually be able to give you a hug.
I know you will. Yeah, I don't have to have air hugs. I mean, my MS is like, this drug is a miracle drug for me. People don't understand that, you know. Mm-hmm. If you're a recreational user, you understand a lot of the time. I mean, like, before I used it as medicine, I knew that I could use it as medicine for, like, a stomach ache. If my stomach was upset, I would use it for a stomach ache, you know. And then when you have an illness, it's like a whole different world of information because you go from using it as something for recreation to using it for something that is something you need. And when you need it like that, and this medicine changes your world so profoundly, you just look at this plant entirely different. I mean, it's just amazing to me the things that this plant can do for me. I can walk, I can talk, I can function, I can hug, I can be with my kids, I can think, I can type, I can do all of this stuff that in Idaho I was losing myself. And I'm here. I'm absolutely effective in the things that I'm doing, and it feels wonderful to not be drugged down by the heavy pharmaceuticals and the social stigma that is surrounding me. It's just completely different.
Yeah, you sound wonderful. I appreciate you so much for being on the show, Lindsey. Stay well, and we will see you at the end of January.
Thank you for having me.
All right. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about patients, not criminals. Stick around.
You cut people, you smoke trees till you get what you need now. Designer drugs and minted smokes to get through the day. You always get them so high.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, home of the famous lighter leash. Herb Age Designs, get your Herb Age t-shirts and hoodies and show your pride. Herb Age Designs, we've got frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com. And follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher on Twitter. We'll see you at this year's Hemp Fest. Crank it up!
Приветствую. Меня зовут Дани Данько. Я редактор журнала High Times. Отвечаю за отдел культивации, или, проще говоря, выращивания. Приглашаем вас в Амстердам с 24 по 28 ноября, чтобы посетить ежегодный турнир Cannabis Cup, уже 26-й по счету. Там мы сравним множество видов марихуаны и гашиша из смежных кофешопов. Еще у нас там выставка товаров, семинары по выращиванию, ночные концерты и вручение премии за лучший в мире сорт марихуаны. Хотите получить 10% скидку со стоимостью билета? Используйте промокод DANKO на сайте cannabiscup.com. Ждем вас!
Now that's getting us ready. Cannabis Corpse with Immortal Pipes. This is some Herb Thrasher Flower Hour music. We'll be playing some of this tonight, 8 o'clock Pacific time, every Friday night here, live. 2 hours of metal and marijuana and some hellbilly music thrown in for good measure. So we like the countryside of thrash too, so little variety here on the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour every Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time. Replay Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time as well. Catch all the other replays on our schedule at 420radio.org/schedule to get all the latest information. All right, so I got to talk a little bit about the Patients Not Criminals. And this is my new name, by the way, that I'm going to be using to distinguish people who are patients, right? Medical users of cannabis, from the people who are strident and, well, let me just try to explain. The Washington State Liquor Control Board has come up with these absurd recommendations, horrendous recommendations in the wake of I-502 passing.
Complete stupidity that's meant to, let them monopolize the entire marijuana market in Washington.
Exactly. They're afraid. It's like, well, gee, we pass these 25% taxes, 25% 3 times. We're going to have them in a highly regulated recreational pot store where people can only buy an ounce. And then they're going to have to run alongside these unregulated, unlicensed, untaxed dispensaries, no taxes going on, that they can have much more than an ounce. And they're just worried that that'll be a mass incentive to get medical and undercut the taxation that's going on in the recreational market.
And then there will be no funds generated from the I-502, which were promised.
Now, this is a red herring. This is a sham on their point. Because, first of all, the medical market is only 10% of the marijuana market at best, right? Maybe it's more, maybe it's less, but they're not a majority, right? Most people that smoke pot in Washington State are not medical card holders. Now, how much they consume, there's a bit of a difference, because the medical users are the ones that consume the most and the most often, whereas the recreational consumers tend more toward the every now and then stage, every month.
Hence the term recreational.
Exactly. So, from an economic standpoint, if you are trying to make tax revenue, you want those heavy consumers coming in. And there are potheads, there are recreational users, whatever the term you're going to use, like myself, who are not medical, but use every day in volume. I'd be the kind of customer you want in Washington State, paying those 25 taxes. All right, so that's the setup, right? The Liquor Control Board they recommend, fold most of the medical consumers into recreational, because they really don't need much more than an ounce anyway. Number 2, reduce the possession limit from 24 ounces to 3 ounces for all the medical users, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you're talking about the medical users, because they're the ones that are the big consumers. And if they're the big consumers that you want, doesn't it stand to reason they have to possess more than 3 ounces? But still, they want to reduce it to 3 ounces. And they want to eliminate home grow. And they want to require, close most of the dispensaries, require them to do all the licensing requirements, pay the taxes, yada, yada, yada. All right. So here's where I started to get a little upset about this, because while everything they're proposing really, really sucks, there has to be a recognition on our side that it's untenable to have a Wild West, unregistered, unregulated, unlicensed, untaxed medical market trying to run alongside a very highly taxed, highly structured, highly regulated market. And that may have been some of the argument against 502 from these non-502 people, saying, well, we can't have this regulation because regulation will make our lack of regulation glaringly obvious, right? Yeah, that's kind of a weird argument. Let's not vote to legalize recreational because it'll point out how unregulated medical is. Okay. And there's a whole story about how they tried to get medical regulations in Washington State, but even then, when they were trying through the legislature to get these medical recommendations, a lot of the patients, not criminals, were saying, oh no, you can't do that, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. And so I jumped in trying to offer a little devil's advocacy on this point, to try to say, look, on our side, we're going to have to recognize which battles to fight, which ones you can win, when it's time to compromise to save what you can. Here's what I would suggest. Number one of the things they're freaking out about is the proposal to make a patient registry. Oh my God, if we have a patient registry, oh my God, our names will be on a list. Now, every other state except California has a patient registry, and I'm not saying they haven't been abused. It's been abused. But by and large, most patients in most states that have registries are cool with it. Because, hey, look, I have a card that when I show a cop, they can't arrest me.
Yeah.
They kind of like it.
Yeah, it's a very good thing.
Yeah. So they're resisting a patient registry. And I would say, look, go with a patient registry and make your case that the patients that are registered for the severe conditions get to keep their 24 ounces. Make the case that, yes, if you've got cancer, if you've got AIDS, if you've got a severe wasting syndrome, there's all sorts of Crohn's, whatever, all sorts of conditions you might have where it's a pretty legit thing to say, yeah, this guy needs 1.5 pounds because he's got to press it into oil, he's got to make tinctures, whatever it is, right? You can make that case. But what they're trying to do is say, no, we don't want any registry, and every patient gets to keep their 24 ounces, and I just think that's asking too much at this point. When they freak out about the limit being proposed moving down from 24 ounces to 3 ounces, it's hard for me to make much hay about that to my national audience when most of them get 0 ounces, and in most of the other medical marijuana states they get 2. 1 ounce, 2 ounce, 2.5 ounces, sometimes 3. Right? We're the outliers in Oregon and Washington getting 24 ounces. Okay? So if you want to keep a little of that, and you're really concerned about these seriously, desperately ill patients, make the case for them. Don't try to make the case that everybody needs to keep their 1.5 pounds when you know and I know that a lot of those people that have medical marijuana recommendations walked into a tent at HempFest, dropped $40 in a story, and the next minute they're out with a gas mask bong in front of the Cottonmouth Kings, and their chronic pain has suddenly disappeared while they're in the mosh pit. I've seen it.
I've seen it.
With my own 2 damn eyes.
Yes, I've seen it with my own 4 eyes.
And I'm not against it. I'm just saying, hey, if that guy with the somewhat kind of sporadic chronic pain has to go from 24 ounces to 3 so that we can keep the 24 ounces of the cancer patient, that sounds like a fight I'd like to have. But trying to say, nope, no registries, we've all got to keep 24 ounces, all the dispensary, they won't give anything.
Yeah.
And it seems to me it's this position where it gets increasingly echoed in their little echo chambers, in their little dispensary magazines, and their little Facebook columns, and all of this, where they echo each other at what a terrible, terrible outrage it is, and won't own up to the fact that there's a lot of fraud and abuse going on here, people. You know and I know that there's people out there, growers, who get their patient card so that they can have more plants in their limit. They give their patient 1 ounce a month for free, and then somewhere, somehow, the rest of those ounces go somewhere else, and they make a lot of money on it, which is not at all what the voters were intending when they were passing medical marijuana laws. No. Now that we have legalization, now that we're moving forward in people's attitudes, and we can start making this a regulated and taxed market, there's going to have to be some changes here. We were told medical marijuana was get the sick and dying off the battlefield, but eventually we'd all want to legalize. We all voted for all these medical marijuana laws, state after state after state after state, even though they didn't protect the healthy people, only to turn around and find when it was time to legalize, the dispensaries were organizing against it.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What makes something funny? How does humor impact health and psychological well-being? How can you incorporate humor into everyday life? A concise, reader-friendly introduction to an important but often underappreciated topic in modern psychology, Humor 101 explains the role of comedy, jokes, and wit in the sciences and discusses why they are so important to understand. Psychology professor Dr. Mitch Earlywine draws from his personal experiences in stand-up comedy to focus on how humor can regulate emotion, reduce anxiety, and diffuse tense situations, expose pretensions, build personal relationships, and much more. He irreverently debunks the pseudoscience on the topic of humor and leaves readers not only funnier, but better informed. It's part of the Psych 101 series from Springer Publishing, Humor 101 by Dr. Mitch Earlywine, Ph.D.
Welcome back, everybody. 57 after the hour. I got a minute and a half or so to get into this, but OMG, people. Rio brought this up in the chat room. Headline reads, against medical recommendations, FDA approves potent new painkiller. The FDA's Medical Advisory Board voted against approving Zohydro, an opioid painkiller with up to 10 times more hydrocodone than Vicodin.
I mean, seriously.
The FDA has just approved 10x Vicodin. 10 strength. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention considers painkiller overdose as a public health epidemic, but the FDA has approved an even more addictive pill, 10 times more potent than Vicodin, this new Zohydro. Full story is out at Mother Jones Magazine online. You can bet I'll be cooking this up for a rant on Monday.
You'll be hearing a lot more about this, in the coming, months here, about it being abused and such.
Unbelievable.
Love
I got to write this up for High Times, too. Hey, folks, that's about all the time we got here on Toker Talk Radio this week, and I want to thank y'all for joining us and being loyal listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you. Help us out if you can by going out to Spreaker.com, Spreaker. If you check out 420radio.org up in our top header, big blue bar, click that, it'll open up, and there's a Spreaker link. And if you follow us out there on Spreaker, we can get ourselves added to iHeartRadio, the #1 web radio application, and that would really, really help us out as far as listenership and building 420 Radio. Thanks again for joining us, and make sure you come in at 8 o'clock Pacific time. We got the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour, 2 hours of marijuana and metal. Coming up next, the Jody Emery Show, and then replays of this last 2 hours of show here. You can get the full schedule at 420radio.org/schedule. Have yourselves a great weekend. Don't forget to support the Family Law Cannabis Alliance, FLCalliance.org, our guest today. For Brian the Red, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.